Welcome to Talk. My name is Eddie Marmolejo. Along with my co-host Jaime Moreno, we created this conservative podcast to bring facts to the issues America faces today. Left-wing bashing? That's too easy, and that's not what we do. Instead, Jaime and I tackle the issues, analyze them, and give our opinions through a conservative perspective. So if you want to join two conservative Latinos on this journey, sit back, crank up the volume, and let's talk.
Hi, welcome to Talk. We are your hosts, Jaime Moreno
and Eddie Marmolejo.
In this week's segment, we're going to discuss three main topics. One is the mass shootings that happened in recent times, and we will also look at who's responsible and who is to blame for such atrocity. We will also look into Jeff Epstein's death. Jeff Epstein has been indicted, as you know, for sex trafficking and minor prostitution. He has died under supposed suicide. We will look into that. We will also discuss Israel's banning of two congresswomen who happen to be Muslim and who have had a history of being anti-Israel. So, was it justified or not? We will discuss. But before we get into our segment, please remember to add, subscribe, follow us, like us, share us with your family and friends, and please follow us on social media as well, like Facebook, Instagram, and follow our YouTube account where you can see our videos every week. Now, before we get into our segment, once again, Eddie, what's the status on the wall? The last I heard, they were doing some legal battles between Congress and the president. The president declared the state of emergency, and then I think the Supreme Court said that that's legal, right?
So it ultimately ruled that President Trump can use military funding that's appropriated by Congress, of course, to basically build the wall.
Ah, okay.
But that is not what I'm going to talk about.
Okay.
Because that's already known. What I'm going to talk about is having the answer to what Democrats and left-wing pundits have said over and over and over again. I am about to refute the claim by the left.
Oh my God, what's the claim? That the wall's not going to be built?
No.
Because, that's already refuted, right?
That the wall that is being built on our southern border is the ultimate test. Not the ultimate test, the ultimate symbol of racism and separation. In the following clip, which is not that long, I want you to listen to what's going on in the background. Okay? And like I said, the answer and me refuting these claims ends the debate as of this episode.
Let's take a look at the clip.
The debate is over.
So the ultimate symbol of racism in the United States is being built by Latinos. So yes, Latinos are building the wall.
They're part of the workforce.
They're part of the workforce. Or at least in this segment, or at least in this clip, we can see they're part of the workforce, right? Remember, this clip is just a narrow view of who is building the wall.
Yeah.
This is just what we heard them speaking in Spanish.
So this clip, right, that was posted by whitehouse.gov, it's on Twitter. Feel free to go on Twitter and look for it.
And whitehouse.gov if you go to the official website.
Yeah, it should be on there. Of course, the president got trolled. Oh, look, President Trump is using Mexicans to build his wall. How ironic. Whatever. No, that's not what I'm looking at. The point is that the left and pundits on the left has said that this is the ultimate symbol of racism and division.
Yeah, they've been saying that for a long time.
If that's the case, then why did interviews on Telemundo, which covered this, by the way, that's how I became informed.
Yeah, because they interviewed some of the workers. Right? Not all the workers, but some of them.
Like two workers. Every two workers.
Yeah, because they spoke Spanish. Obviously,
I will post the links to the interview below, and I'll see if I can get the Twitter link so you guys can look at the video yourself again. And it's the same thing. I think I only cut 5 seconds.
So
Yeah.
Doesn't this defeat the purpose of whole Trump's anti-immigration stance?
It does.
Supposed
I just said
anti-immigration
it
stance.
ends the debate. It ends the debate. It
Oh,
ends
so
it.
how does that?
It ends
How
the-
does it end the debate? I mean, it's pretty much saying that.
I know the debate is going to continue, but for me, it ended the debate because Trump is saying that he's anti-illegal immigration. Okay, he's not
that's true.
anti-legal immigration. Those are the two things.
He's not anti all immigration in general, right?
Yeah, he's not the left where he generalizes all Latinos as immigrants and therefore says we're all immigrants, we're all illegal immigrants. That's the generalization you often see on the left.
And we keep saying that here in MM Talk.
Yes.
The left and the Democrats always put labels on everyone.
Yes.
They assume everyone is this type of person.
But he said
Right?
anybody, as long as you come here legally, you can work, you can get, you have access to benefits, you have access to all that, or our healthcare system and all that. So I get to the interviews, and what does the guy say? Well, my friend,
It's a job.
It's a job.
It's a job. I get to pay the job, huh?
So
Well, it's something Italian.
We're not there yet. But it's a job. Basically,
Pretty much.
He said, "Look, it's a job. Look, I'm not getting into the political thing, and this is not what I'm doing here." I don't think CNN, MSNBC, Univision, Telemundo, and all that would agree with him. But he said that this is about me feeding my family, getting great benefits, and and I'm doing a great project that other people don't want to do. So their loss is my gain. That's literally the argument presented to Telemundo by these two label workers working on a wall who again happen to be Latino. If they're Mexican, I don't know. I'm not generalizing the both Mexican given the audio clip I just played. I'm just saying that
The Latinos.
can we drop it?
They're Hispanics.
Can we drop it? If Latinos are building the wall, okay, unless you want to call them sellouts, because last time I checked, they spoke clearly good Spanish.
That is a good question, though. That's a good observation. Because my observation is also, could it be that, some Latinos don't really care for the political battles of racism in America? And all they care is pretty much work, job, security. Like us conservatives believe more that we have secure jobs, good education for our kids. We want to be able to have benefits. We want to be able to live comfortably. And we're not caring about whether there's racism or not. I mean, that's the least of the worries, right?
And it's because these are house table conversations that we have. Get a good job, so you have good benefits and all that. Do your best and so forth.
Work hard, move up.
Face challenges.
Yep.
Start low, aim high. All the stuff that we need.
Get married, have some kids.
And one of the guys said at the border, "Look, I'm not into this political nonsense. I'm just here for a job so I can feed my family and all and so forth." So can we drop it? We had shootings in El Paso. And to the families out there, I hope you guys are recovering. I know this segment comes after the shootings took place, but hope to all families and all three shootings, hope you recovering.
So all the families in El Paso, Texas,
And Dayton,
Gilroy,
Ohio,
California,
and
Dayton, Ohio, we send our deepest condolences, our prayers, and most of all, our warmest wishes that you recover, that you be able to live your lives despite this tragedy. Tragedy, yes. Tragedy. Now, what is the solution to this problem? It seems like ever since Columbine, there's been a lot of mass shootings in America.
Well,
prior to Columbine, it seems like there wasn't that much shootings.
No,
There's been homicides. There's been hate crimes. Obviously, assassination attempts. Obviously, because you read it in the history books.
Right.
But these mass shootings that we're seeing, or that happen so frequently, it seems to be like it's happening so much now.
There has been 20...
And we've had guns in America. We've had the right to bear arms in America since the establishment of this country.
Right.
Okay? Since 86?
What, are you talking about the establishment of the country?
The Constitution.
1791?
91. When we ratified and approved the Constitution, the right to bear arms, the Second Amendment, has been around since the beginning. And it seems funny that in the 200 plus years in the country, we haven't had that much mass shootings or resembling mass shootings as we do in the past 20 years of the first century. Okay? So that seems kind of strange. And I'm not trying to put forward a conspiracy theory, but I mean, growing up, we didn't hear a lot of mass shootings. I think the first mass shooting that I've ever heard was Columbine, and that was because of some students who were mad at their classmates for being bullied, went and just did a revenge on the school. That's the only shooting that I remember. The first shooting I remember.
That you remember. So
right? So with all these mass shootings, what are we to do as a country? What is the best solution, or who do we blame? What is it that we need to do?
Well, that's the special question. But you have to also dig in a little deeper. You said Columbine, right? Mm-hmm. It says the first one you remember.
Yeah.
I personally did a video on an article I read where they said there has been 26 mass shootings in American history, right? And the last the six have happened within the last 10 years.
27 mass shootings.
26.
But the media says that there's like 240 a year.
There's 240. Okay, so you have to look at the definition of mass shooting, which is any shooting that involves 4 or more persons, right? So anybody over 4 is considered a mass shooting.
Well, that's kind of vague, isn't it? I mean, let's say I'm a father and I commit suicide and I kill my family, right? Mm-hmm. Wouldn't that be considered a mass shooting in terms?
Yeah, so
a family of 5.
I mean, that's the legal definition. However you want to use
that's
it.
That's kind of
yeah. So
that's kind of that's misconstrued in a way.
Exactly,
right?
But that's the definition.
That could be anything.
Because you can also say, well, like you said, you had Chicago, you had mass shootings. There was 56. Baltimore has had mass shootings. There's been over 4 people. Mm-hmm. So anything over 4 people is considered a mass shootings. But when we look at this question, like you bring it up, what are the shootings that basically capture the American media today? And it's anytime it's a white supremacist, right? Anybody who attacks people of color, mm-hmm. All right? But when it's color on color crime.
Wasn't there a case also internationally when that happened?
Yeah, so you had the case in recently where you
Sri Lanka, was it?
No. Sri Lanka was Muslims on Christians,
right?
But then
that's minority, technically.
But then you had New Zealand, which was a white supremacist in the Islamic mosque, or I think it was.
Yeah, the media covered that part.
That one, but it was like
on the Sri Lanka one, the media covered it, but they didn't give it a whole.
They didn't give it
a whole fear tactic like they did with other mass shootings. Because in Sri Lanka, remember, it was Muslims who attacked Christians.
Yeah.
Okay? It's it's what the media considers a minority, a protected class, a discriminated, a class that is discriminated, or religion that's discriminated, made the attack on Christians. Right?
Yeah.
So the media covered it, but they didn't give the whole spectacle of like the fear of white supremacy or the fear of or Muslim supremacy or Muslim terrorist attack or Muslim mass shooters, and like Eddie's saying, when it's minority versus minority, it doesn't get that fear tactic compared to white versus a minority.
White or a minority. So when you ask who's to blame, you have to take a look at the context of the situation. And the first thing, and I actually applaud the candidate and Congressman Julian Castro, who said you can't blame Trump and you can't blame you have to blame the person who did it. And my hat's off to you, sir, for saying probably the most intelligent thing that came out of all this. Like, blame the shooter.
Out of all 20 candidates, this man is the most rational man right now.
You had Beto saying, it's Trump's racist.
Yeah, and he even banned Trump from going to El Paso. He's like, don't come to El Paso because it's your fault. Really?
I forgot her name.
And it's funny how they're saying that Trump is the one who's building the rhetoric, right?
Building rhetoric.
Okay, remember when Trump was elected office? What did everyone say?
Oh, I thought his campaign was over as soon as he said that speech.
Everyone in the left, including Democrats, wished death on the president. Kathy Griffin had a head. Remember, guys? He had a head of the president. Okay? That was just beheaded. Okay? And she was considered a hero. We have people singing songs, F Donald Trump, death to Donald Trump. I want to kill Donald Trump. I want to kick his butt. I want to kick everyone in the MAGA movement to kick his butt. So, Donald Trump might have said something stupid about Latinos, and he might have said stupid about like touching women. Like, okay,
yeah, that was dumb.
All right, and let's be honest, the recording where he grabbed women by their private parts, that's eavesdropping.
Yeah.
All right, that's spying. That's invasion of privacy, okay? Because it was like an interview or it was a conversation that was recorded that shouldn't have been recorded. That's invasion of privacy. But anyways, that's a whole different discussion. He said it. Oh, well, it was leaked out.
So,
but the thing is that they say Donald Trump is the one who incites division, hate, and attacks.
Yeah, so
but yet we forget that the left has done more, has said more, has even been more against anything that has to do with President Trump
or
conservative ideas. And mostly conservative videos. And you guys can look it up on YouTube. You guys can look it up on media outlets and news articles when there's fights and Antifa versus conservatives or marches or even conservative speakers. Remember, we had the discussion a while back too, how conservative speakers aren't allowed to go to college campuses because these leftist students feel threatened by speech.
So when you look at it, right, you said speech. So speech is speech, right? People can believe it, listen to it. For hate speech is free speech. I hate to say it, right? It's unless it incites violence.
That's the key word. Does President Trump's
rhetoric incite violence? And okay, so we're gonna have the bias because we're conservative, right? And I'm like, where is the narrative that it incites violence? He says, I want border protection. Mm-hmm. I want to fix our asylum laws. Mm-hmm. And by doing all that, basically provide better jobs for people here, provide better opportunities for people. I don't see no insightful language.
So what would be considered insightful?
Hold on. Or the ban on Muslims. And the ban on Muslims. Okay, first of all, those were 7 nations that were identified by the CIA, by the previous administration, and President Trump, for national security purposes, acted upon them. Does anybody even know what the largest population of Muslims, even where they reside? Does anybody even know? Do you even know?
No, where?
Y'all don't know? Indonesia. Okay, the 7 countries that were targeted by this Muslim ban were from the Middle East, from known terrorist test havens. He said, no, we can't have these people coming in. Wow. So, okay, so there's that one. So you said, so the Muslim ban, of course, this is just a symbol of hate. No, it's not. Okay, previous intelligence from the previous administration said, we probably have terrorist threats coming out there. If this was a really Muslim ban, I think I said 57 nations consider themselves Muslims out of 7. Really? 7? Come on, get lost. Anyways, and then you have that. And then
so that's not inciting violence.
No, but what do you hear from the left? Maxine Waters. If you're saying those people from there, get them out of there. Get them out. And then what do you have?
Well, yeah, she did, because she literally told voters that if you see anyone from the Trump administration, you should yell at them. You should tell them stuff. You should kick them out of the places of business. Mm-hmm. And remember when Sanders, the press secretary Sanders, was kicked out of a restaurant because they made other people feel uncomfortable? Remember that? Yeah. Remember when another elected official was also kicked out of a restaurant because the people there didn't feel safe? So it's gone to the point where people can't even enjoy themselves in public because the people on the left, or who hate Trump or anything has to do with conservative ideas, hate us so much that just the sight of us
makes them want to react violently. Mm-hmm. And then just look at the examples of Antifa, like you said, coming with masks, coming with shields and all that, into a peaceful protest. You're really, wow, okay. Or you're beating up reporters who ask or question your motives. Like, really?
Yeah, they attack even news reporters who ask them, who question their ideology or their reasons for doing something, right? It's and also when that gentleman, that minority gentleman who's Asian or Filipino or something, who was wearing a MAGA hat and he was beat up.
No, he was. I think he was Latino.
He was Latino. I don't remember if he was Latino.
One, I believe.
Was it Latino?
And you guys can read, but I think it was Latino wearing a MAGA hat and he got beat up. Yeah, he was Latino, because I remember I was on Instagram now and there was a page that it says, that's why that C asterisk, I'm not going to say the word, gets for, it's Latino, right?
No.
He's not Latino?
No.
I thought he was Latino.
He's not Latino. I think he's Filipino. He's Asian.
I can't tell all them bruises. That's
messed up. With all them bruises, that's messed up, bro. MAGA hat, New York man, severely beaten for dare.
Anyway, so the guy gets beat up. The point is, I thought he was Latino. I'm sorry, guys. But I was reading, John Turan, the owner of New York City, man says...
Art gallery.
Turan. Is that a...
Sounds Filipino. Turan.
Okay, he could be Filipino. I thought, But anyways, the point of what I'm making is, you get beat up for wearing MAGA hats. I mean, you've seen the videos where left-wing people remove people's hats, take away their flags, or make America, or keep America great again, keep America great flags. They take those away. They throw stuff at your car. And the right has done this too. I've seen videos where the right goes, "You don't belong here. Go back to your country," and so forth. So the thing is, where you're always gonna have stupid people doing stupid things. That's what I'm trying to get to. You're always gonna have stupid people doing stupid things. But where's the source? So when I'm looking at Trump's rhetoric, right? It's like, okay, dude, you just you're forcing the issue, and I get it because it's frustration and all that. But I've hardly seen any racism, right? I've seen the racism more on the left. I'm just being that honest. Like Jaime points out, many examples. The left has thrown more violent rhetoric out there. We have to get rid of ICE detention facilities. Then you had the ICE attack on the detention facility. Detention centers are concentration camps. Okay, if you want to go back further, cops are the enemy. Black Lives Matter, and then you had Barack Obama stir this notion that somehow the cops are the enemy of black folk. When you had shootings where they were proving that the cop either actively enforcing the law, and then even his own AG, I think the AG was with the one in New York. Actually, he said that he acted according with his training and so forth. Stuff like that. And you had Ferguson. He said, well, he kind of did not listen, and then that happened. So, but somehow cops became the enemy. Authority became the enemy, right? And we have to basically fight everything, fight the power. That's basically what happened. And it's also, and that became.
They're being malicious. They're being violent.
Yes. So all that, fight the power, and they're race baiting you through the notion of race. That's what it is. It's fight the power through the notion that race. But
it's not only that. I mean, it's so evident. I mean, we don't have to. You don't even need us to analyze this for you. It is so evident. When someone just beats someone up for wearing something, you would automatically consider that a bullying. You would call that an assault. In any normal society, in any normal interference, any normal day, if someone attacks you because they're wearing something you don't like and they beat you up, you would call that assault and battery.
Yeah.
And regular day. But why do we not say that when it's a person who wears a conservative ideology hat or who is conservative? When you beat them up, they don't say it's assault. It's like, he asked for it, because he's racist. He asked for it. No. We have to distinguish that he didn't ask for it. He just expressed a political view, and you didn't agree with him, so you beat him up, and that's called assault.
Yes, it is.
That's plain and simple. Assault.
So let's get to the nitty gritty, right? So we've said that both the left.
So going back to the mass shooters, right?
Right.
The Democratic candidates blame Trump for inciting violence, right? For 3 mass shooters. So let's look at who the mass shooters are. If we look at Gilroy, the young man who committed the crime is a 19-year-old kid. Right? His name is Santino. He cut through the fence of the fair. So meaning he went to the back door. He didn't go through the main entrance where they can, pat him down to see if he has any weapons. So, I'm going to deviate a little bit. What does that mean about gun legislation? People can go around and do things illegally. If they're going to commit a crime, they're going to commit a crime regardless of a law. A law is not going to deter them from committing a crime. Plain and simple. The law is there to be able to provide punishment once the crime is committed. But the law is not a deterrent to not commit a crime. Now going back to the kid. 19-year-old Santino goes to the side, right? Doesn't get patted down by security, so no one knows he has a gun. And he starts shooting. He kills 3 people and injures 12. To this point, we don't know his motive. We don't know what was through his mind. We don't know if he was inspired by quote unquote Trump, or he was inspired by the quote unquote MAGA movement. We don't know. Yeah. There's no motive at this point. But all we know is that he's 19 years old. Okay, he's a young kid, 19 years old. All right. Then we go to El Paso. Right. Then we go to El Paso. The young man who committed that crime in El Paso was 21 years old, or is 21 years old because he's still alive. He's 21 years old, okay? He's another young kid. Barely the legal age to drink, okay? Barely the legal age to drink. His motive behind all this, according to research, goes way beyond Trump, right?
No.
And I'll come back to that real quick. I just want to give the illustration before we go to El Paso. Before we go to what Eddie's gonna say, because he has evidence there, it's gonna predate everything. So remember, 21 years old, goes to Walmart and kills and shoots, right? Then we go to Dayton the next day. Okay, Dayton, Ohio. The young man Connor Betts is 24 years old. 24. Okay, barely the age when you graduate college, if you decide to go to college, or barely the age of someone who has trade school, was gone to trade school, or barely going through your work career, right? 24 years old, okay? 24 years old. No political motive so far. No signs that he was a threat to the community. The only thing he has is traffic violations. Not even his neighbors suspected that he was capable of such a terrible thing, okay? So what we can deduce from these 3 attacks is that each one of them were under the age of 25 and older than 18. 19-year-old was the one who shot up Gilroy. 20-year-old kid was the one who shot up El Paso, Texas. And 24-year-old is the one who committed the crime in Dayton, Ohio. Okay? These are young kids. They're not adults. They're not killers. They're not murderers. These are kids you would not expect for them to behave such a way. Based on the research by police and investigators, they're not in that bracket of criminal masterminds, right? So, Eddie, what were you going to mention about these shooters? Or what were we going to say?
Okay, so when you heard about El Paso, I'm starting El Paso because we still don't know much about Gilroy. We still don't know the motive. So let's just go to the big one, which was made big, and that was El Paso. In El Paso, you heard from Beto O'Rourke, you heard from Kamala Harris, you heard from a lot of the 2020 candidates, automatically blame Trump. Trump, his rhetoric is to blame. I was watching Al Punto with Jorge Ramos, and I swear, Jorge Ramos, all he wanted to do in the show was to get people to say Trump was to blame for the shooting. No joke. He interviewed Beto O'Rourke, who of course agreed with him, but he also interviewed Ted Cruz. And Ted Cruz, right, he's like, well, don't you think Trump's to blame? Is Trump to blame? And Ted Cruz like, Jorge, how about we take a step back and basically find out what happened here? Because this is all ridiculous. This is bad. This is horrible. How about we get the facts and we can establish the facts and so forth. Let's learn more about this guy. But no, Jorge's like, well, no, we have to blame Trump. We have to blame Trump. Trump is to blame. Right? And then, so I said, well, I tried to find the manifesto. I tried, I couldn't find it because they took it down.
Who took it down? Google?
Well, Google.
Obviously, of course,
right?
Not surprised there.
Not surprised there by Google. But I finally found it.
What happened?
So, okay, I'm not gonna go and read this whole thing. Okay? We all know he hated Latinos. We all know why. He said immigration was a problem. Illegal immigration was a problem. He used the word invasion, which a lot of the pundits in social and mainstream media, a lot of your liberal pundits say, well, you see, he used the word invasion, and thereby using the word invasion, that's Trump. Okay, well, people call a lot of people all the time doesn't mean that they generally follow what the guy was saying. And here's why. Because in this manifesto, he says that both Republicans and Democrats are to blame for what is going on in our country. He blames the incorporation of corporations into our political system.
Wait, it wasn't Trump?
I'm not getting that. I'm not there yet. He said that the main issue is corporations and how they gotten away with providing by getting cheap labor, importing cheap labor, basically losing American jobs, people losing their jobs, right? And the mass interracial integration that we're also getting, that's an issue. The Latino influx and being a major power to future elections, which is true, that's true, that's been documented, right? That Latinos will have a bigger voice. He feared that. And he had a resentment towards that. Like, again, you can go through the manifesto. You can either read the manifesto or you can take what you saw in the media as is, because none of the outlets that I listened to from that, was it Sunday or Saturday?
It was Sunday. From El Paso was a Friday, wasn't it?
I cannot recall. So from the day of the El Paso shooting, which I believe was I want to say Sunday, all I heard, Donald Trump is to blame. Donald Trump rhetoric this, Donald Trump rhetoric that, and I'm like, really? Did you all even read the manifesto, or are you guys taking the event as is? And what I came to find out, was it Saturday?
It was Saturday.
It was Saturday. Okay, so you took the event as is, and I read the manifesto, and I swear to God, all I want to do is to go to one of these events where everybody blame Trump in El Paso, or to a lot of you people that blame Trump for El Paso, and ask you the following question: did y'all read the last paragraph of this manifesto? The last paragraph. This is not a long manifesto. I'm about to read you the last paragraph.
Can you read it first, Eddie? Because, like we tell you guys and our viewers, always read the entire thing. Never try not to skim it, skip it through. Always try to read the conclusion and the entrance of anything, and find out what's going on in between the lines.
So, my ideology has not changed for several years.
You're quoting the mass shooter.
No, I'm not quoting the mass shooter. What's his name again? I'm not going to say his name. No. The shooter, the El Paso shooter. Now I'm quoting the El Paso shooter. So, quote, my ideology has not changed for several years. My opinions on automation, immigration, and the rest, here comes the key word, predate Trump and his campaign for president. So all his views, this guy's 21 years old. And I'm going to get to the point I made in my other video too. 21 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Predate Trump and his campaign for president. I put this here because some people will blame the president or certain presidential candidates for the attack. This is not the case. I know that the media, keyword, will probably call me a white supremacist, keyword, anyway, and blame Trump's rhetoric, major keyword. The media is infamous for fake news. Their reaction to this attack will likely just confirm that. What did you see from Saturday and on? Trump.
Has Trump caused this? Has Trump did this? Is Trump to blame? Is Trump's speeches and rhetoric causing violence? Is Trump to blame? 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 Is Trump to blame?
So he says many people think that the fight for America is over or already lost and they're more wrong. He goes yada yada yada. But that section is literally the last paragraph of this manifesto. I have not heard a single pundit on either side refer to this paragraph.
The answer is in front of your faces, media. In front of your faces. And yet you do not report that.
So to all of our viewers out there, both left and right, this is the source of the shooter. I am not reading anybody else. I'm not reading CNN's interpretation of it on Univision's and so forth. Straight from the shooter.
Mm-hmm.
He says this predates Trump. The guy is 21 years old. Okay, so I say 21 years old. So when did he learn this? Okay, so let's say what, high school? So 5-6 years, right? 5 or 6 years.
That means he was in high school.
No, he was in high school. Who was in president when he was in high school? And I'm only saying because he probably has some sort of intellectual.
He was 21 years old. So that means he was born in 1998.
1998. Well, just take away. So what is it? 6 years from 2013. Who's president in 2013?
Barack
when was
Obama.
the economy bad in 2013? When was the
2007 the economy crashed. We had the recession.
Yeah, had the recession, right? And then you had Barack Obama. But he was saying, if to gain some sort of intellect, this guy had to at least be 15 or 16 years old because, and I'm going this based on our education system, that's when you're exposed to maybe a mild version of analysis, is in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So 15, 16 years old, the economy at that time was pretty bad. You had the export of manufacturing jobs for cheap labor, which is talked about in that manifesto, right? Right, and you started seeing also the large influxes of immigrations as well, and Obama throws in DACA and all that. So this guy's seeing all this.
Wait.
What?
Okay, no, go ahead, sorry.
Okay, so he's seen all this, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't even know if this guy wrote this, okay? Because this sounds pretty, I don't know if he wrote this, but what I'm trying to get to is to has any inclination of so-called intellectual understanding of what's going on. He looked at the Obama years, and I'm not blaming Obama
Yeah, he
for
pretty
anything.
much grew up in the Obama years.
He grew up in the Obama presidency, right? Mm-hmm. So during that time, what were you seeing? Immigration issues. You were seeing racial issues, right? Cops and all that. You started seeing all these problems brought to by the left. What?
Also, the housing crisis. The stock market crisis. The recession. Pretty much the recession from 2007 up to now. It was all during the President Obama's administration, right?
So, yeah.
So this kid, doing the math, graduated high school, give or take, in 2016. That means that he graduated high school in June of 2016. President Obama was still president at the time.
Yeah.
So his manifesto, if the narrative is who to blame.
And I'm not blaming Obama either, so I'm not make that.
But we're not blaming Obama, but you would think, okay, he grew up during this time period.
Yeah.
And who was in charge? Who was the chief executive officer of this country?
That was Obama.
It was Obama. Now, we're not saying Obama's at fault. We're not saying that.
Yeah.
We do not blame him.
But
we
I'm saying
the shooter himself. Right?
But I'm saying where did he
where
get
did his ideas?
Yeah, where his ideas came from?
Against corporations,
race relations, automation, and all those. It's during the Obamas when the economy were bad. It's not Trump. Yeah, given that you had Trump 15 and 16 when he began his campaign. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But again, he said this predates Trump and his campaign.
That's true.
So this, by logical conclusion, I don't think a 12-year-old, 13-year-old does not have that. So that's what's going to high school. Like you said, Columbine, those were high school kids, mm-hmm. right? So some sort of intellect. When we started understanding things about government and all that, was in high school.
It was in high school, yes.
So, and this is based on my assumption that that's when he began to understand this. But Obama was president. Things were bad. Things were getting worse. And how worse? I pull up the statistic where it said where race relations between black and whites peaked. They peaked with George W. Bush, and they reached their lowest points under Barack Obama. Mm-hmm. And this is on Pew Research. You guys can look it up. Look it up on Pew Research. The peak points between black and white relations were highest, I think 75% under George W. Bush, mm-hmm. and they were about a 55%, I believe, under Barack Obama. And they dropped from 2013 to 2016, so they got worse twice. Mm-hmm. Okay? So this is what I'm saying. All this, when you have to look in the environment which the individual obtains his influences. Mm-hmm. So it's not just the rhetoric. He tells you it's not the rhetoric. It's that I've seen things that I'm starting to understand.
Through his experiences and his knowledge and his research, right? It's not like because he just thought of it. Based on the manifesto the El Paso shooter made, mm-hmm. he pretty much tried to do research. He looked into the causes, mm-hmm. and he's angry at the system here in the United States. He blames both the Republican and the Democratic Party. He blames both political parties as fault as to why we're struggling, having our troubles. We're pretty much having problems that could have been solved so many years ago in this current age and day.
Yeah. So, but that's El Paso shooter. So to our viewers on both sides, I just ask you to please look at the circumstances and look what influenced it. If it was President Trump, I would have called it out. President Trump. But this is why I wanted to read his manifesto. Because if President Trump, I saw a lot of President Trump's rhetoric and all that in there, mm-hmm. then I'll say, you know what?
Yeah,
Trump did influence. Mm-hmm. But he tells me right there that he didn't. So what am I supposed to say now? What
we're trying to say is that this man, and the words of Juan Castro, right? He's the blame.
Yeah.
The shooter's the blame. Not the president, not everybody else. He's to blame because he made that decision. Yeah. Just like anyone who commits a crime, they're responsible for their own decisions in committing that crime. Mm-hmm. Now, the media is going to keep telling you, and especially as we go into 2020, that President Trump is inciting and causing more violence in America than ever before. And they're going to keep saying that, and they're going to keep telling you that until you believe it.
Yeah, 2020.
But here in MM Talk, we're giving you the evidence to show you in contrary to what they're saying.
I'm starting to think 2020 is going to be an election of character and solely on character. It's not going to be on the economy. Yeah, that will take second to Trump is racist. All of these are going to come up, right? But so if El Paso is, we have to blame Trump, then who do we blame for Dayton? That's the next question.
And who do we blame for Gilroy?
Who do we blame for Gilroy? But
now
we can't talk about Gilroy.
These kids grew up in the early ages of this century.
No, I get you, but Gilroy we can't. But if Trump is to blame from El Paso, then who do you blame for Gilroy? What influenced the Gilroy shooter? Y'all want to know?
The Gilroy Dayton.
The Dayton shooter. Thank you.
The Dayton shooter, we don't know yet.
Yeah,
Dayton, we don't have no idea, but we have some speculation.
The speculation that he was influenced by Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, based on his.
No.
What?
No, that's a lie.
What?
Because Bernie Sanders and Warren don't incite violence. Okay.
Okay. Well,
we're talking about giving healthcare to everybody. We're talking about open border. I mean, not open borders, but giving immigrants healthcare, illegal immigrants healthcare. They're about increasing the minimum wage. Okay, I don't believe it, Eddie.
You don't believe it? Let's go back to El Paso. In The Inconvenient Truth, where he says that Democrats are to blame by offering open borders, free healthcare for illegal citizenships, and more enact on a political coup. That's El Paso.
So the Dayton guy is a Warren and Bernie supporter.
And if you don't,
based on what?
Based on his social media accounts where they were showing that he supported.
So he retweets and reshares things from Warren and Bernie Sanders. Mm-hmm. But wait, how does that work?
What do you mean?
Because they're not talking bad, quote unquote.
Jaime, when you have groups like Antifa and groups, when they say we have to get rid of ICE, we have to eliminate ICE, eliminate this, get rid of that. Right? Mm-hmm. Eliminate Donald Trump's racism. Basically attack every single principle that conservatives and Trump supporters believe. That is war rhetoric. Eliminate. Attack. All that. That's war rhetoric.
That makes difference.
Okay?
So that's a connection.
That's a connection. I mean, and then when you have that, what was it, that Bernie Sanders worker that attacked that representative? Mm-hmm. Remember, I forget when the incident was? That's because of Bernie Sanders' rhetoric. But the media somehow has forgotten about that.
Gotcha.
You have to look at the influence. And now I want to go into this opinion piece, but it is an opinion piece by the Washington Post by Mark Thyssen, right? He says, and this is basically the title of the article, if Trump is responsible for El Paso, Democrats are responsible for Dayton.
And that's in the Washington Post.
That's in the Washington Post, okay? As soon as authorities said they suspected the El Paso shooter was the author of a hate-filled white supremacist online manifesto, Democrats began blaming President Trump, he's a racist, Senator Warren, Bernie Sanders, he's a racist, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, declared that Trump was directly responsible for the shooting. What did the manifesto say? That is shameful. Trump is not responsible for the actions of a madman. As a Democratic presidential hopeful, Julian Castro, they pointed it out that he said that the only person responsible is the shooter. Mm-hmm. But if Democrats want to play politics with mass murder, it works both ways. Because the man who carried out another mass shooting 13 hours later in Dayton, Ohio, seems to have been a left-wing radical whose social media posts echoed Democrats' hate-filled attacks. Again, attacks, right? On President and U.S. immigration officials. The Associated Press reported on Monday that a Twitter account that appeared to be his appear to be his, showed tweets labeling himself a leftist, bemoaning the election of President Donald Trump, supporting Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren, and encouraging people to cut fences of immigration detention centers. What did I just say?
Well, Democrats, you're responsible for Dayton.
According to Heavy.com, the suspect Dayton shooter railed online against immigration and customs enforcement, retweeted criticism on House Speaker Pelosi's for not supporting Ocasio-Cortez and her progressive House allies, and shared a post of concentration camps at the border, and tweeted, "I want socialism, and I will not wait around until idiots finally come around to understanding." What is Bernie Sanders? We need government takeover of our economy. By any means, it's a revolution.
Oh my God.
That's from the Washington Post.
The Dayton shooter is pretty much a supporter of Warren and Bernie Sanders. He hates ICE. He wants all detention facilities destroyed. And he wants socialism to reign in America. So this Dayton shooter, 24-year-old, which is at voting age.
College graduate.
Give or take, if he graduated college, right?
Graduated college, yeah.
Is the one who shot up Dayton, Ohio. Wow. So then let's blame the Democrats for that. And they're blaming Trump for El Paso, like in this saying, this article says. Let's blame the Democrats for equal responsibility on that.
But here in MM Talk, we're not playing let's blame the right, because I brought to you the testimony manifesto from the guy who's to blame for white supremacy and the attack of El Paso. Is he a white supremacist? Yes. Does he hate Latinos? Yes. Is Trump to blame? According to him, no. Dayton, left-wing supporter, likes Warren, wants to attack ICE facilities, wants socialism by any means necessary. Is this thing working?
Hello,
Jaime. Is your thing working? Hello, Jaime. Oh, okay, well.
It's working fine. So what we're trying to communicate now is that these mass shooters are young kids. These three mass shooters are young kids, younger than us here, right? They committed these atrocities. Yes, they were influenced by some ideologies, because this is an ideological thing that we discovered by these mass shooters. It wasn't that the Democrats or Donald Trump said go and shoot up the place, right? They've been influenced by their own respective sources of information and their circles of influence.
Yeah.
And they went about and acted upon it. And unfortunately, and we should condemn it.
Oh, yeah.
We should condemn it wholeheartedly. Just because you disagree with somebody, you shouldn't kill them. That's not an excuse to kill a person. Mm-hmm. And that's not an excuse to be able to go and do mass shootings. You know, we condemn such behavior. Can we prevent such behavior? That's something we will discuss on MM Talk in
another
the future,
episode, yeah.
Because people are always trying to say, stricter backgrounds. Okay, these three kids, based on their history, they passed background check. No history of crimes. The only one who committed a crime, it's a traffic stop.
Traffic stop, yeah.
And you think that's a crime? No. That's a traffic violation. You go to court and you fight it. You know, you get a fix-it ticket, for goodness sake. You know? These kids passed a background check. So even if you implement stricter background checks, I bet you they wouldn't even be able to catch these guys based on those requisitions. Yeah. You know?
Or red flag laws and so
red flag laws and something else. So we'll discuss that in a later time in MM Talk.
Yeah, so I think like I said, we have to see what is the root cause of influence. Mm-hmm. And if the root cause of influence is what the media said, then they were right. And if it's not, inform yourselves, because like I said, this manifesto took me days to find. I'm not even kidding. I had to search and search and search. And of course, I tried Google. Big mistake. Should have got a Bing or Yahoo, right?
She got there
but I finally found it. I made sure this was the actual manifesto. I took segments of the manifesto. So it is what it is. So, but the other side, you guys look at the rhetoric. Look what's influencing, and then you can decide. Yeah, man, you know what? We're kind of crazy on the left, too. You know, we're talking about cutting fences, all-out revolution. People take this stuff seriously. And when you have instances where people take stuff seriously, right? situations like this can happen and now have happened. So to my left wing friends, I ask you, can you now blame Democrats for Dayton? You want to blame us for El Paso? Are you going to take responsibility for Dayton? Please let us know in the comments, because it's your people. We had to defend it. We looked at it, and I can tell you we're not responsible for El Paso. We're not. He says we're not. It's not Trump supporters. Well, sort of Trump supporters, but it's not conservatives. It's not Republicans. He hates both of us.
Mm-hmm. So pretty much, are we gonna play the blame game? Or both sides are equally blamed.
Are we gonna play the blame game, or are we gonna play the fact game? And I'd rather play the fact game when it comes to issues like this.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's when you get your answer, and that's when you get informed, and that's when you can tell other people, nah, dude, you're wrong, man. Did you read that? Check out this video at MM Talk. This dude laid out literally the last paragraph of this dude's manifesto. It proves you wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Jaime laid out other instances where people have used really warlike language, where they have basically influenced people, and that's what you're seeing there in these shootings. I can't talk about Gilroy, but I can talk about the other two.
All right, so we'll conclude that for mass shootings. Like we said, we condolences, our deepest prayers and thoughts to the families who have survived such atrocity, and may those cities be able to recover and may get back into life. The biggest thing we can do against terrorism like this is to continue our lives and not live in fear anymore. So our next topic is going to be Israel's banning of the Squad. And before we go into that, just a quick touch on Epstein. Remember, Jeff Epstein was indicted by the federal government, by the feds, for human trafficking and prostitution of minors, right? So this case is really big. There's a lot of people involved, a lot of people of power. We've already seen that there's politicians involved. You know, there's people of bankers and so on and so forth involved. Obviously, the media is trying to say that Trump is also involved, right? Yeah, we see pictures with him here and there, but it all seems to be pointing the other direction, right? So as the investigation continues, if they decide to release the information, we might see who was involved, or at least the federal government can prosecute the people who were involved and participated, right? And one of the biggest indicators, and we've seen through
what difference at this point does it make?
Subtle references is the Clinton and the Clinton Foundation, since they were really close to Mr. Epstein, right? But we'll continue that later. But what we want to say is that Mr. Epstein tried to commit suicide once, and he was under 24-hour surveillance in what is called a suicide watch. Pretty much, you're under surveillance 24/7 by the guards for a certain amount of time to prevent you from committing suicide. That means that they're watching you, that in the moment you want to commit suicide, they'll prevent it. But for some reason, this high-profile case, the man, right, who was going to be indicted by a bunch of women, we're going to be accused by a bunch of women, committed suicide under suicide watch. How does that happen?
Clinton.
How does that happen? Like, how can you be in 24-hour surveillance and then still end up killing yourself?
And how did the camera break down? And
and the Attorney General.
I don't need to laugh, but when you read the situation, it's like something out of a freaking Mission Impossible movie.
Yeah, something from a movie. Like, really? Like, wow, what are the odds of that, you know? It's like, or Prison Break, all of a sudden.
No, 24.
24.
Every time I see Jack Bauer break into prison. or break into like this high federal facility, right?
For real. Like they get undetected. Wow.
Cameras off. Some of the guards.
Or they put like a fake, a scene in the camera and makes it like it's recording. But it's just a picture. Just a little picture. Oh my god.
Yeah. So,
really? So it's really suspicious.
So it's really Clinton.
We don't know. A lot of people are saying the Clintons. Other people are saying that, a lot of people in the government are trying to like hush this. There's a lot of people involved. I do hope that the federal government and the Department of Justice do bring to trial the people who were involved. Mm-hmm. They have to bring them to trial, and they have to indict them, and they have to put them in prison in order for this to stop once and for all.
Yeah.
So Epstein, under 24-hour suicide watch, pretty much trying to prevent him from committing suicide, still ended up committing suicide. So, Attorney General Barr said there was a lot of irregularities, a lot of suspicious things going on,
Like the
and
camera
they're
breaking
still
down.
investigating it, like camera going off. The guards happened to go to the restroom at the same time. You know, they all went to the restroom, or they all like went to break at the same time. Really? So, a lot of things. We're not trying to say it's a conspiracy, but
I am.
it's really, really, really highly suspicious, especially for a high-profile case like this. So, what does that mean to the victims? Hopefully, they receive justice, and they can, bring the perpetrators. Even though Epstein's dead, the other co-conspirators and the people involved can go to prison too.
It's gonna be interesting if it ever comes to light.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll keep on top of it. We'll keep on top of it. Keep your eye on it. If you're here around, please comment below to let us know what you think about the Epstein case, and if he pretty much cowardly killed himself instead of facing the consequences.
Oh well. He says he killed himself. I say Clinton.
Clinton or the guards or somebody killed him, because his cellmate in the articles, and there's reports where the cellmate was told by the police, by the guards, to not speak of what happened that night, to not say anything, right? They all have lawyered up to protect themselves from these, the guards who are meant to protect them, threatened with their lives, even threatened, I don't know, they just threatened them not to speak, right? Not to say anything. Why are they trying to hush the cellmates?
We'll see.
We'll see. So, now that's Epstein. Now let's go to the banning of the two Muslim congresswomen into Israel.
Those
Okay?
Musulmanes.
Part of the squad, or as Eddie likes to call them,
The Cheetah Girls.
the Cheetah Girls, right? So, Eddie, why is Ilhan Omar and
Rashida Tlaib.
Rashida Tlaib being banned from entering Israel?
I mean, is it obvious they hate it?
Okay, that's one point. That's one point.
So as many of you probably saw, Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar were set to go on a trip to Israel to basically find out what's going on the ground and so forth. Well, Israel said, no way, Jose, because they got their itinerary. And their itinerary was titled, A Trip to Palestine.
So they're going to visit Palestine, not Israel.
And the groups that were funding the trip have known to be tied to many anti-Israeli groups. I'm not going to say alleged terrorist organizations, but basically a lot of groups suspiciously, allegedly, they're anti-Israel,
rumored, right?
Yeah, they're anti-Israel. Let's put it that way. So Israel, 2 years ago, passed a law saying that if you basically have anti-Semitic or basically anti-Israel or you protest anything of Israel, you are not allowed in the country. And this was the law that they used to basically bar Representatives Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib to basically enter the country. Mainly because they also started supporting BDS. So boycott, and that was the other.
So what's BDS? Can you?
That's what I was gonna say. Can you look it up real quick?
Oh, okay.
I remember it was just boycott. Hold on. I know it was boycott, divestment, and sanction. I think it's. I forgot what the D is.
Boycott, divestment, and sanctions against Israel.
So boycott, divestment, and sanction movements that were basically opposed by Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, saying that basically they say we have to stand strong with Israel. Your representatives here said no way. We're gonna support BDS because of what's going on in the Palestinian territories of West Gaza and the West Bank and Gaza. So that was the trip. They wanted to go down there, get informed what's going on the ground, and Israel said, "Well, no, you just want to come here to bash us, so you're not gonna come down here." Well, after all that, Representative Rashida Tlaib said, well, I have a grandmother who's ailing. Can I please go visit her for humanitarian reasons? Israel says yes, but you cannot make any political comments or any political actions while you're in Israel.
Pretty much, you'll be visiting Palestine
and
as a private citizen, not as congresswoman.
So go visit your grandmother and come back. You're free to come and do that. Then Rashida Tlaib goes on CNN, C-SPAN, so and starts crying because they gotta let me in. I said, you know what? After further consideration as to how they want to allow me to come in the country, I decide not to go. So basically, what she's saying in English is because you're not allowing me to trash talk you under the pretext of visiting my grandmother, I'm not going to Israel. And of course, President Trump said, "Well, Israel has the right to do so. It'll be kind of dumb of Israel to allow these women to come in after all the trash talking that they do." President Trump is now influencing Israel policies as to allow people to come in, and it's totally racist.
Anti-Semitic.
I mean, this is terrible. I mean, how is he going to do this? It's like, and then you have Joe Biden. It's like the United States has never done that to anyone before.
Right. The United States has barred a lot of people from coming to the United States.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Did your administration not bar a member of the Jewish parliament for having ties to a radical Jewish group in 2012?
We forgot about that. Remember?
We forgot about that.
There's no scandal in the Obama administration. There's nothing wrong with the Obama administration.
Fast and Furious did not happen.
Nothing happened in the Obama administration. It's so perfect that there's no record. Yeah, because the media didn't want to tell you what crap was going on during the Obama administration.
So, Rashida Tlaib and her fake tears, because I don't believe anything she said up there. I really don't. I mean, look at her. She's being sentimental. No, she's lying. If she really cared about her grandmother, the permission given to the Israeli government to go visit her grandmother should have been enough. Mm-hmm. If your goal was that. But your goal was to trash Israel. Therefore,
she wanted to be recognized as a congresswoman,
yeah.
Be a diplomat out there, make herself look important, and be able to, continue the BDSM movement.
So you got denied.
The BDSM.
And then you said, I don't want to go. So can we drop it? My point is here on this whole Israel is because of the comments that came later by President Trump. Mm-hmm. President Trump is influencing Israel policy now, and it's like, that's unacceptable. It's ridiculous. And no, he didn't. All he said is, Israel has the right to do so, and that would be kind of dumb. And then he said, well, if Jews vote for Democrat, they're disloyal to Jews in Israel. He's not wrong about that. I don't know about the Israel part, but I would consider it not to be wrong. You want to know why?
Because the Democrats have been opposed to the state of Israel for a long time.
I sent Jaime this. Remember when I sent you this, Jaime? And you were like, what the heck? I was like, yeah. And I was like, so there was this chart by Pew Research. Very, very, this is
really respected.
Very respected. And check this out. The level of disparity between the support of Israel amongst Democrat and Republicans is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. From 1978 to 2018, so which is last year, 79% of Republicans support Israel.
Okay.
Do you want to guess what the percentage of Democrats supporting Israel is?
20.
A little higher.
30?
27%.
Wow. 27% of Democrats support the state of Israel?
Yeah, so 27% sympathize with Israel by party.
Wow.
Independents are 42, which makes sense because they're always in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Wow, so 27% of Democrats. That means that that's like 83% of Democrats.
73% of Democrats
73%.
disapprove of our relations with Israel. Is that not evident?
You said 27, right?
Yeah, 73%. I know my math.
Wow.
Most, yeah, 73. 73% disapprove of our relationship with Israel. Is it not evident by comments made by Rashida Tlaib, Ilhan Omar, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? All these supporters of BDS. Who's funding these trips to Palestine? Groups that are anti-Israeli.
Mm-hmm.
It's just 2018. This is just last year. I don't know what's going to be next year. I'm pretty sure it's going to probably be dropped down to maybe 25%. I don't know. But it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It doesn't surprise me when I see this. But I'm supposed to believe Rashida Tlaib when she's crying up there? Are you kidding me?
So Israel is a sovereign nation, and they can ban anyone they can.
We banned people before.
They want to ban any diplomat, whether they agree with them or not. They can ban them. They can say no, we don't want you in our country because we don't believe, or you're not your speeches or rhetoric is against our belief system, right? So these two women will not be entering Israel. Now people are criticizing Israel for doing so, saying that's going to harm U.S. relations and so on and so forth.
How dare they
Especially because they're
Trump?
Muslim women, right? They're the first elected Muslim women. You would think that Israel will allow them to enter Israel, but they're not going to visit Israel. They're going to visit Palestine. They're going to enter Israel to Tel Aviv because they need to get, in order to get to Palestine, they need to enter Tel Aviv, which is in Israel, and then travel to Palestine, which is a drive away. Right, so they need to. It's pretty much they have to go into Israel in order to be able to reach into Palestine. There's no direct airport in Palestine. You have to go through the country of Israel. So, what this means is that they banned them because of what they said against Israel. And here in MM Talk, and Eddie is one of the big proponents on that, is that they have spoken, with anti-Semitic rhetoric. And they have said some awful things about the Jewish community and about Israel as a country. We've quoted it. We have shared their tweets and their videos. And the media and the left do not see it as anti-Semitic. They see it as an expression of political realities and so on and so forth. But they don't say it's anti-Semitic. Trump says that, hey, Jews who vote Democrat, which the Pew Research shows that 73% of them don't want a country of Israel.
No, they don't have a favorable view of Israel. We can't say they want theirs.
27% they want.
No, they don't.
27% they don't.
27% have a favorable view of Israel. Sorry, yes.
So I was right.
Yeah, you're right.
73% of Democrats don't want Israel. 27% do. So 73% of the Democratic Party does not have a favorable view of Israel. So that's more than a majority of the entire party is working to not give Israel any legitimacy, recognition, or any benefit. I mean, but yet Trump is racist and anti-Semitic for saying that. It's like saying, 80% of Democrats, don't want certain thing, and then people say, oh yeah, well that makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. It makes sense for them to vote for people or the politicians who want to benefit Jewish and Israel as a country. It would be logical, don't you think? But hey, Trump is a racist, and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib are not racist. Yeah, about that. So, you guys are smart enough. You guys can figure it out. Come on. Let's be realistic here. Israel says no. That's their problem. That's their business. If they want to be open relationship with Israel, they should go to the embassy and say, hey, we're here to talk and how we can build relationships. Just like any politician or any person would. Let's make the peace.
Yeah, because I was just really quick. There was also a tweet by Rashida Tlaib where she said, when I got elected to office, I made a promise to the Palestinian people that I will help elevate and actually better this crisis. So are you now insinuating that there's dual loyalties between you and the state of Palestine, quote unquote?
You're here to serve the people of the United States, to serve and protect the Constitution of the United
States.
States.
You basically accused everybody in Congress who supports Israel of dual loyalties. You blatantly stated that you are going to help Palestinians.
That it's all about the Benjamins. Well, you guys decide. Comment below. Share your thoughts. Let us know what you think. Thank you very much for joining in this week's podcast. Like we said, comment below. Share our channel. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram, on YouTube. Let us know your thoughts and comments below. We would like to discuss with you the issues and the policies that are coming out of Washington, D.C. And for now, we are your hosts,
Eddie Marmolejo
and Jaime Moreno. And like we always say, we're tired of it too.
Jaime and I would like to thank you all for tuning into our podcast this week. If this is your first time tuning into MM Talk and you like the show, we invite you to come back every Thursday. Just hit that subscribe button and the little bell so you're notified when our videos are up. Also, do not forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram for any additional notifications. This is MM Talk, and remember, we're tired of it too.